Hey there, everyone. Welcome back. Once again, live from the quarantine zone of Washington State. We are here.
I was gonna say we should make a rule of not mentioning it because I'm so fucking sick of hearing about it. But I guess you broke that one already.
I broke that one. This is the first one we're doing where we're not actually side by side talking about the movie that we're talking about. So there's probably going to be more talking over one another than usual. But it is what it is. Can't help it. We're doing our best to not die.
We won't die. It's only old people that'll die. We're fine.
Well, immunocompromised. I am a diabetic. I am one of the other
You're
bullet
compromised.
points. I'm compromised.
I'm not in the best health ever, but I'm sure as hell not compromised. I spent
First-
45 minutes on my exercise bike yesterday.
You know what people are compromised? The people in today's movie, John Carpenter's 1980s The Fog.
Yes.
Yes, 1980, the year 1980. What, you got a new home cost $76,000. The median household income was about $18,000. A dozen eggs, 91 cents. Gallon of gas, $1.25. And a gallon of milk, $2.16. Milk's still kind of the same price. Like, even today.
No one drinks milk anymore. I can put you on my right ear because normally you're sitting on my right. So
There you go. There you go. Keep it normal. There you go.
Yeah. Consistent.
Yeah. Oh, the unemployment rate was 5.8%.
That's not the way it is today.
That's not what it is right now. That's for damn sure.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah. 50%, 50% of this podcast are unemployed.
I am one of them.
Yeah. So yeah, John Carpenter. We could go on and on. A lot of episodes of this particular show will probably be John Carpenter movies.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think during Attack of the Clones, I said something about the fog and the mist.
Yeah.
So I created a controversy. Not really. Only one person said something to me, but and then they happened to re-release this in our local little theater, so we saw it. So that's why we're doing it.
That's why we're doing it, because
we were debating on what to see, and we happened to see this movie. So
yeah, it was
2 + 2 = 4 on that one.
Yeah, it was like just days before everything got shut down for good. So
we were risking our lives to see the fog.
It was the last movie we've seen in a theater, maybe forever. Who knows?
Maybe forever. Yeah. The beginning of new time.
Yeah.
Till the clock resets itself.
Yeah. Neo Tacoma has been born out of this. His next movie is Escape from New York after this, which is fitting.
So what they should do anyway.
Yeah. That's what they were trying to do. That's what the big problem is. But, yeah, so we're talking about The Fog, which would be his third sort of major release.
Fourth movie, I think, because he had Dark Star, Assault on Precinct 13, Halloween, and then this.
Yeah, this would be like his third major release, actual release, because Dark Star was Dark Star.
I don't even think Assault on Precinct 13 was really released. I think it was one theater released it or something weird. It was
Yeah, that's a hell of a movie. We'll talk about.
That's a great movie.
The
remake is not good.
No, well, the same can be said for pretty much anything on this list when it comes to John Carpenter. It's like, it was great. The remake, not so much, but
there was a while in the mid 2000s where they're like, if John Carpenter's name's on it, we're gonna remake it.
Yeah. But The Fog, 1980, as we said earlier, so 2 years after Halloween, which is his, that's his coming out party, basically. That's when John Carpenter becomes John Carpenter.
Yeah. Probably the reason he was able to make any movie since then, because none of his movies did very well for some reason.
Yeah.
And except for Halloween, which is a smash hit, especially considering how much it cost.
Yeah, so this is, and this is the usual John Carpenter, Deborah Hill collaboration piece.
Oh, yeah.
So Deborah Hill doesn't really get the mentioning as much as John Carpenter does, but...
Yeah, she wrote pretty much everything with him and produced. Yeah. And they dated for a long time. Yeah. And they broke up right before The Fog. And he was going out with Adrienne Barbeau. Yeah. So it was kind of like a weird thing on the set, because he was going out with the new chick. It had his new girlfriend and his old girlfriend working together. Jamie Lee Curtis said she felt like the kid in between the new relationship, because they were going to her asking her stuff, because she was in the middle.
So Deborah Hill wrote 4 movies.
Yeah.
She was producer on pretty much everything. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
she co-wrote Halloween, The Fog, Halloween 2, and Escape from L.A.
Oh yeah. Oh, Escape from
Unfortunately.
LA sucks. That is the I've only not seen like 3 Carpenter movies, and out of every other one that I've seen, they're all great except for Escape from LA, which is
Yeah.
like his like only like big budget movie, and it's terrible.
Oh yeah, yeah. So,
It's like beyond
she,
crappy.
yeah, script supervisor on a lot of other movies, but nothing particularly major. Salt
Then
on Greasy 13.
his next wife after Adrienne Barbeau became his producer, or was his
Yeah,
producer, then became his wife. But they're
yeah,
still together. Sandy King.
yeah. Sandy King. Yep.
Yeah.
So this movie has quite the uh, cast in it. Really,
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Lee Curtis, Jonathan Houseman, Tom Atkins, who is the star of Halloween 3.
Oh yeah, and he's in Lethal Weapon.
Yeah,
I was
I
gonna
like
say
Tom.
that one guy from Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, I like Tom Atkins. He's in a
Oh, he's
lot
good.
of
Yeah.
like he's in a lot of some of the more crazier movies. Like
I always get him and Brian Dennehy mixed up. I'm like, wait, isn't this the guy that lied about being in Vietnam? No, that was the other guy from Tommy Boy, not the guy from Lethal Weapon.
yeah, he was also like one of the leads in the night horror movie from '86, Night of the Creeps. So
Oh, I have not seen that.
he's in Maniac Cop. He's in there's something else. He's in Drive Angry, that Nicolas Cage movie from.
Is that with Amber? Is that the one that Paul W.S. Anderson did?
It was I don't know if he.
For some reason, I watched Mortal Kombat yesterday. Well, I wanted to watch a comedy, and I was looking up that guy's movies, and I think that was one of them.
No, he didn't. No, but it does have Amber Heard in it.
Oh, okay, that's the same one then.
Yeah.
That I'm thinking of anyway.
Yeah, it's actually Drive Angry 3D, but actually the original title, if you look at the poster, is called Drive Angry Shot in 3D. If the original posters, that's what the movie's called, which is really good.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So The Fog, yeah.
The Fog.
Uh,
Very simple story,
very. It's
which is what makes it so good.
yeah. It's a cursed treasure story.
Yeah,
Which is like very cool. Like, it's Pirates of the Caribbean.
yeah. Explaining it like sounds way different than what the movie actually is, because the way it's approached is much different than what the backstory of it is.
Yeah, because you really like you only get sort of like what's really going on in like flashes. Like it's not until the very end that you really they just lay it out completely that
Yeah.
like it really is like cursed gold,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but they're not pirates; they're lepers. Everyone thinks they're pirates,
Yeah,
but they're lepers.
Yeah, they're lepers just dressed nautically.
Yeah, from 1880.
1880. Yep.
Yeah.
And it has the same sort of backstory of Jebediah Springfield in The Simpsons, where it's like he's just.
It always comes back to The Simpsons.
Yeah, so it's like the founder, because it's like Founders Day is coming up in what is it, Antonio Bay?
Yes. Yeah. I was like, they never say the name of the town, but now that you mention it, they say it a lot.
They say it a lot. It's on the radio all the time.
They're in Oregon, I think. I read that.
Yeah, and
that
lighthouse still stands, and you can visit that lighthouse to this day. So the founders of Antonio Bay, which is the priest, Father Malone.
Oh yeah.
It's like is one of the, he's like one of the
ancestors.
Yeah. Because I don't think it's that far down the family line at this point. That would be like his grandfather.
Yeah, because it's 100 years later.
Yeah, and this is the 80s, and it's 100 years later. So yeah, it's not that far removed. I think it's his I think it's his grandfather. So it's like very close to the.
Yeah. And one thing I found out reading about it was in the it said in the book, which whenever they say from the book, that means it was in the script and just not used in the movie, that the people, because they have to kill like 7 people or whatever, those are the people, they have to kill the descendants of the people directly involved.
Yeah.
They don't say it in the movie. I mean, I assumed it when we watched it. I was like, I'm pretty sure, because they like go for certain people for sure. Yeah, and that's who they're killing. It doesn't matter, but it makes sense that that's what it is.
So yeah, they sink the clipper ship that they're dealing with. So Blake doesn't establish a leper colony nearby, That's really sort of like the
Yeah.
plot of this. Like, we don't want a leper colony nearby on this island,
Yeah.
so kill him.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
weird.
So they light a fire on the beach
Yeah.
for them to come so they can come into land, but they actually
Yeah.
light it further inland than they say. So the ship crashes on the shore instead of coming right to the shore, crashes on the shore, and it kills all of them.
Kills all
and that
of
was
them.
like how they start their town.
Yeah. So the town founded on blood. You
Yeah.
know, so obviously a curse is coming.
Yeah.
And that's when you meet the you got that fisherman out there.
Yes.
And listening to the radio, learning it's like, hey, there's fog rolling in.
Yeah.
Once their boat is enveloped by this mysterious fog,
the glowing fog,
they all get killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the DJ, the radio DJ, is played by Adrienne Barbeau.
The voice of Catwoman.
The voice of Catwoman, exactly. And so
interesting fact: she doesn't smoke. You would think with her voice, but Carpenter said she never smoked.
But so the three fishermen are killed. That ship is now missing. Like, these people are supposed to be back the next day, and they're not. So you're also introduced to Nick Castle coming in.
Oh yeah.
He's coming home and he picks up the hitchhiker Elizabeth.
Oh yeah.
In a really weird it's the 80s, so everything is just kind of has an underlining of horniness to it. So
drugs and free sex.
Yeah. Nick Castle is played by Tom Atkins.
And Nick Castle's the name of the original Mike Myers.
Michael Myers, the original actor behind
Mike Myers. Not Mike Myers, Austin Powers, but
yeah.
Michael Myers, and he wrote some stuff. I don't know if he wrote this with them. I think he helped them write Escape from New York.
I think so.
Yeah, and he did write Hook, which I just looked up. He was going to direct it till that damn Steven Spielberg decided he wanted to do it.
Yeah. So then after all this, then inexplicably the truck's windows all get blown out.
Oh yeah. It strikes midnight because they're gonna attack on the 24-hour period of that day.
Yeah.
So when it hits midnight, everything kind of goes to hell, and then it's quiet until that night.
I like what the theater that we were in, because everything was sort of starting to take shape in our reality of sort of what was going on. So when you have the store clerk just reach and grab the carton of, I don't know if it was milk or orange juice or whatever, take a sip of it, seal it back up, and put it back on the shelf, the theater was like, ah.
Those annoying people in front of us. They were talking and late, and they got up 45 times. I'm like, it's a 90-minute movie, people.
Yeah.
They were on something for sure.
Okay. It was midnight and everyone was anxious still. So.
It was 11. It was 11.
Yeah.
It was almost midnight.
Almost midnight. The witching hour. So it's funny with that scene because you don't really understand what the power set of this revenants are, because they're blowing out windows and causing alarms to go off,
and the gas comes on,
and all that stuff. But also there are very physical beings that come out of this too. So it's sort of like a double whammy where the fog is causing issues, and there's also physical spirits that are
the beginning goes on forever. Not as long as Prince of Darkness, but it does go on for a long time.
For a while.
Well, I don't know, because I know originally when they shot the movie, they went back and edited the movie and realized that they shot around it. They missed the point, so they had to go back, and they were trying to appeal to a more slasher audience.
Yeah, so
because John Carpenter created that unknowingly and unwillingly, and so he kind of had to appease that.
Yeah.
So they went back, and I don't know if the you're ever actually supposed to see the ghost, or if it was just supposed to be fog.
Yeah.
Because I know they went back, and anything that has a slasher moment was something they went back and reshot. So I don't know if you were ever even supposed to see them.
I'm sure there was probably some sort of insinuation of a corporeal being.
I don't know.
It makes sense for all of this. I mean, there are real character names and characters involved. I know that the opening of this movie was a reshoot scene where they added the guy telling the story.
Oh, John Houseman.
Yeah, John Houseman telling the story. That was a reshoot scene because they realized they needed sort of an explanation as to like we really don't like set up anything. It just sort of happens. So they had to go back and film that opening scene.
It's so funny because Carpenter's always so calculated and so precise. And I always have a lot of respect for any director like that, and that's one of the reasons why I love him, because everything's nice and and with this movie, I'm like, wait, do I not? Is Carpenter not the guy I thought he was? Because it seemed like he totally messed this movie up.
Yeah, it's a total. It feels it's a total slapdash of a movie, but he made it work.
It doesn't feel like that at all.
Yeah. It's when you go back and just sort of like if you go back and just sort of overanalyze this movie, it definitely comes across as this sort of like pieced together spooky story. It's not scary at any moment.
No.
There's never anything that's scary. It's just
that's how his stuff is. Kind of like Stephen King, where it's like it's the story is about something scary, but the point of it isn't to make you jump and scare the crap out of you or whatever. It just takes place in that genre, I guess.
Yeah. I like so the story really starts to kick off when the kid finds what he thinks is treasure on the beach, and it suddenly turns into the broken sort of like call sign of the ship, which is the Elizabeth Dane, where he just finds a broken plank with the words Dane on it instead of the treasure that he thought it was, and even this sign seems to be cursed. So
it's part of the ship, of course it is.
So.
It's powered by fog. It's fog powered.
It's fog powered. It's just 100% pure fog power.
It's like steam, coal. We're missing the point. We want fog power.
Yeah. The one thing that's always sort of interesting in this is that you can kind of easily miss the voice recording. Like if you're just sort of sitting there watching the movie, where it does have the 6 must die.
Oh yeah,
voice
6.
Recording
That's right.
on it. So 6 must die, and then the wood catches on fire.
So, that part's cool.
It just sort of happens. It just sort of like, this is an exposition scene, and it just sort of plays out. It doesn't try to force it down your throat, so it's easy to sort of miss a lot of the sort of story of this movie.
It's a subtle movie for sure. I like that there isn't really a main character. It's just kind of an ensemble movie, but you just kind of follow each person you need to follow. For that point in the story. I mean, Adrienne Barbeau would be considered the main, but it's very cool.
But is she, because she's really just sort of, she plays the same role as like the DJ in like the Warriors or something, where it's really just more of, eyes on the streets kind of character, because like her interaction with the story is sort of unimportant to the resolution of the story.
She's
just affected by it. It's like theoretically the main character of this story is Father Malone.
That's true,
because he's got the bloodline to it. He's the one that has to resolve the story. He's the one that knows what's going on, because he's the one that finds the book in the hidden in the church. So like theoretically he's the main character of the story, but he's hardly in the movie. So he's not. So it's hard to consider him that. I
mean it's a true ensemble. I would just say if you had to pick, it'd be her, because it's her you kind of follow the most. It's her kid. She has the connection to the weather guy. And she's but I mean there isn't really. But I would just say if I had to, if there was a gun against my head and someone made me pick a main character for the Fog, I'd say it was her.
I love Hal Holbrook, who plays Father in this. He's been in some of my favorite things. So he was in Creepshow, which is
that's right. So she
like Creepshow, an all-time great.
It's a good one. I think it's maybe the only short story movie that works. Because it's the same director, I guess, Sin City, but they usually don't work.
I absolutely love Creepshow. It's one of my favorite like horror movies, and it's got Stephen King is so good at it in his section. The hick, and like the line "meteor shit" that he says is like whenever something, like if I ever get something like splashed up on me, meteor shit.
I always think of the weirdest, not the weirdest story, but just the weirdest cast with Leslie Nielsen as the bad guy and Ted Danson, which was Buried in the Beach.
Buried in the Beach. That's a good, because this was like predates Naked Gun Creepshow, so like he wasn't fully the comedic actor yet, even though the whole movie itself.
And that's how we know him.
Yeah. So he's great in that. Dude. Everyone plays their role great in Creepshow.
Oh yeah,
highly recommended.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
What else should we talk about?
Oh, I think it's worth mentioning that I have no idea why, but for some reason John Carpenter has a cameo in this.
Yeah, he does.
It's a little beyond a cameo because he has lines.
Yeah. His character's name is Bennett.
Yeah, I don't know if the guy just called in sick that day or I don't know, but because I don't think he's in any of his other movies.
It's so early in his career that maybe he thought like, well, maybe I should be in my own movies, like as a cameo, and then just like gave up on that almost instantly.
Yeah. It was like trying to pull an M. Night Shyamalan of just giving himself really small parts, or one step beyond Hitchcock of just literally just having a visual cameo.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean he's fine. He's got his very John Carpenter hair.
Yeah.
Which he still has. He's just bald, but he still has it long down to his shoulder.
Let's see what movies he's featured in. Oh, he's in pretty much everything he's done in some way, shape, or form.
He's usually a helicopter pilot. It's usually his cameo. But I don't think he has lines. Or maybe just his voice or something.
He was a voice in Dark Star. He was a gang member in Assault on Precinct 13. He was Paul, Annie's boyfriend, an uncredited voice role in Halloween.
Oh, there you go.
Bennett in the Fog. He was Secret Service #2, helicopter pilot, and violin player in Escape from New York.
That's right, yeah.
He was one of the Norwegians in the video footage.
He's playing a guitar in Escape from New York.
Yeah. He's Man in Helicopter and Starman. He's a worker in Chinatown and Big Trouble.
Yeah, all those other ones are like cameos I haven't even noticed.
He's the voice that says sleep in They Live. He's Man at the gas station phone in Village of the Damned. So
I brought up that movie yesterday. It's a good one. It's not its best, but it's a good solid movie.
Yeah. And he was Trenchcoat Man and Gimp in Silence of the Hams.
Huh. I've never heard of that one. I'm sure I have. But...
Yeah, it's one of those parody movies.
So like Plump Fiction and all those like crappy B-grade spoof movies.
Yeah, and it's Italian. It's got like Billy Zane, Dom DeLuise.
John Carpenter.
Yeah, it's trying to be like The Naked Gun, but for like horror movies, and it just doesn't
yeah, no.
Yeah, that came out in '94, but so John Carpenter pops up from time to time in a lot of his movies.
Yeah, this is definitely the most significant role he's ever had. This is the most
significant role he's had. This is like
only one with lines.
Yeah, FaceTime and lines.
And lines at the same time.
It's usually one or the other with him.
He sings the Big Trouble in Little China song.
Yes, he does.
It's by the Coupe de Villes, which is their name. Which in this movie she's playing a song and it says that was a whatever by the Coupe de Villes.
Yep. Yeah, there's an extended Carpenter verse.
Yeah. If you're nerds of his and you've watched his movies enough, you pick up on it.
Yeah.
Well, this was one because this was before streaming or before I was streaming, and I was just for some reason rattling off Carpenter movies. Obviously, I'd seen Halloween, and I must have gotten The Fog when it came out on The Thing when it came out on DVD. Yeah. How did I mix those two names up? I must have gotten The Thing just because I'd heard about it. Yeah. And then I remember, I think at Borders, they had Assault on Precinct 13 for like $5, so I got it. And I obviously knew the name Carpenter, and it was like his first movie, even though it wasn't, but I thought it was. So I got it, and that was really cool. And then I just started, over the years, rattling off his movies, and The Fog was one of them. Because anytime I'd watch a Carpenter movie, I'm like, how come I haven't pursued this guy's other movies? And then I got The Fog, and I was very surprised by how good it was.
Yeah.
And each movie I see his, I'm always surprised at how good they are. I've seen so many that I question when I get to them, like, this one probably sucks, and then it doesn't. And then like I saw Prince of Darkness, so like, man, this isn't that good. I haven't heard of it. I'm like, nope, it's crazy good. In the Mouth of Madness, this one probably sucks. I never heard of it. Nope, crazy good. They Live. All right, everyone says it's good. It probably sucks. Nope, it's as good as they say it is.
They Live is one that I will always Will be my personal favorite of Carpenter's. Even though The Thing and Halloween and stuff like that are better movies, They Live is my favorite for various reasons. I love Roddy Piper, and he's actually good in it, which is a rarity for a wrestler in a movie.
Yeah. Well, and he that's a good blend of his movies because people always forget about Big Trouble in Little China, and he kind of does action movies like that. I mean, obviously that's a comedy with action, and like Assault on Precinct 13's action, and you know most of his other movies are horror movies, except for Starman, and They Live's kind of a blend of both of those.
Yeah, it's got a sci-fi bend to horror in a way. It's got his comedic sense ability to it. It's got
Keith David, who I love.
Yeah, it's got Keith David, who's great in it.
I love that guy.
It's got his sort of the kind of action scenes that he makes.
Yeah.
It's got a message, it's actually saying something, and it's not being subtle about it.
Which is funny to watch it now, and I'm like, wait, did this movie just come out?
Yeah.
Because it seems pretty relevant today.
Yeah. We're not really talking about The Fog so much as the Carpenter version.
Yeah, this is our love for Carpenter. Anyways, The Fog. Jamie Lee Curtis, which is funny.
Yeah.
Because she's not really the main, like we're used to seeing Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. So everyone kind of knows something's up once they find the fishing crawler.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone on there is like a desiccated corpse with like their eyes gouged out.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. And they don't really show it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
You just kind of see it, yeah. And the guy thought about that today when he picks up the scalpel off the table. It's like the dead body, and you see him moving, and he grabs it and then starts walking towards her.
Yeah, and it's once it's like dead again, it's got a number carved into it. This was the third death. It was number 3 was carved into it.
Oh yeah, I think movies like this work best when you don't really explain the rules. You know, like, so you can't kind of scrutinize over them or point out inconsistencies that just kind of happen when they happen. I mean, it all makes sense, but you're not really thinking about that.
Yeah.
You're a couple steps behind the whole time.
Yeah. You're never fully explained you understand the core of this is clearly some sort of nautical curse, but that's sort of the extent of it. You never really, you don't know why, you don't know where. Like there should be a reason for it, but it's not like it's not like the gold itself is cursed or something. It's just like
it just is.
It just is. It's not like because like in a normal movie it'd be like a Indiana Jones movie or something where they pick up a cursed item, but like this one is just like the hatred of what happened to me created a curse, and that's
they don't even go that far to say it, which is cool.
I mean, like that's the implication basically. And,
but
totally. They don't say it, so you don't really know. That's just how you have to assume this is what's happening. Like, it's like some sort of it's revenge that is pursuing this curse. Why? It's not like. In another movie, it would be like, and at the same time, lightning struck the boat. And
there was a soft spot in this other dimension, so it gave birth to the ghost fog.
The ghost fog, and every so many years, it reanimates the corpses of these fallen men. It doesn't go that far.
It's best not to explain these things.
It is because it is, and that's just gonna have to accept it in this movie.
I guess it's kind of the ghost thing is unfinished business, so I guess that could be kind of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clearly that's what it is, but it doesn't explain why this isn't happening, why it's just this localized in this little port city.
And that is the best way to do it. Because when you try to make sense, that's when you find plot holes and logical holes.
Like for this, when we're trying to sort of break down what the fog is, it sounds silly because again, really, the story is so threadbare. But that usually would be a bad thing. But in the case of this sort of movie where it's more about the ambiance of the horror, there's no horror elements other than, man, all of this feels spooky as hell. It's all dark and foggy, and you see shadowy figures and occasionally glowing eyes.
Actually, I'm actually not a fan of the glowing eyes. I wish it's only that one end scene where I mean, it looks cool and stuff, but I kind of prefer that they didn't have the glowing eyes.
It's cool in that final scene, like where.
Oh yeah, I mean it's cool.
They're all standing there in the church with the glow.
I love that they just cut to them. There's no reveal. You just cut to these silhouettes standing there with the fog running through their legs and stuff, and it's so cool and it's so scary. Like just that image of just them already there. Like I think that's where a lot of horror goes wrong is that they try to get too much bang for their buck with the scare, and it's way scarier when you just show it there already. Like, I don't know why that scares the crap out of me, way more than like you see a little thing build up, and when you just cut to it there, it's like, oh man, that's way creepier. Kind of like in The Haunting of Hill House, that mini series, which was great, where there's so much stuff in the background that's moving, but they don't give you any cues with music or sound effects. It's just there, and that's way creepier instead of them trying to scare the bejesus out of you.
Yeah. So the fog, like the town's stuff is going on. The town celebration and all that stuff is starting to roll in. But that's also when the fog starts rolling in again.
Yeah. Well, they did a lot of cool backwards shooting in this movie. Like when Adrienne Barbeau's on the lighthouse tower.
Yeah.
And the fog's rolling away from her. They had to shoot it backwards. Like she had to record herself blinking and do it backwards because your eyes look weird when you blink, and it looks flawless. Yeah. But they had to do a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks great. Yeah.
Oh, it looks so good. And the glowing fog looks really cool.
Yeah. So when the fog comes into town, it just disrupts everything. There's no phone calls. There's no power. They're having used backup generators, and she's powering the radio station with the generator because she needs to call out to like, please save my child.
Yeah, well, she can see stuff, and she's telling the town what's going on.
Yeah, because she's in the lighthouse and is able to see the fog rolling in.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, so she's able to see what's going on. You know, she has her fight on the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Which is, it's an interesting scene because it kind of doesn't go anywhere. It's just kind of her struggling with ghosts for a while because the main conflict is way far away from her. Like, you know, towards the church and all those other characters and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like the babysitter gets killed by a revenant. That's what they are. They're revenants in this movie.
Revenants.
Revenants.
Well, the end part has some cool music where it's just like dun, dun, and it just does it forever. And then it's cool because it doesn't change; they just add more to it.
Yeah, John Carpenter class of his own when it comes to composing his soundtracks. His own soundtracks. It's like it's a master class of like the right sound for the right occasion.
It's just the mood. That's all. It's not this great piece of music. It's just it's getting the mood exactly. He's
not trying to be like John Williams, where he's trying to create the next great classical piece of music. He's trying to set the mood for, and you know, it's him making the music for his own movies.
Yep, which is really rare.
Yeah, so he knows what he wants, what sounds he wants to have play in the scene, and he does it. So.
Yeah, Alan Howarth, who works with them a lot. I don't know if they worked on this, but he said Carpenter watches it and improvises, and then he goes through and beefs it up. But it's just Carpenter. And it's great because it's the kind of music that kind of disappears into the back, but also doesn't.
Yeah.
And
well, the sounds, like the music itself disappears, but like the sounds he wants you to hear in the music. Stay.
Yeah,
so, like,
when they're really constant. Yeah. Which is cool. It's just like that driving kind of beat that stays.
Yeah.
And it just gets the mood perfectly.
It's a lot of synth heavy stuff from Carpenter, but
I think that's all he does.
But
I think Vampires has some acoustic guitar, or maybe that's Village of the Damned for some reason.
But he doesn't abuse the electronicness of it, which is good.
Oh no, it's perfect for what he's doing. Oh, he said he did that because it's a big sound with minimal instruments, how synthesizers are. Which is very true. He said in the old days, I don't know if the first movie was, but he would, like, for Halloween, he couldn't watch the movie while he played it. So he would just record a few songs and then add them into the movie when he needed them, which is funny.
So the finale takes place in a church where they find the big, huge cross made out of the gold.
Oh, yeah. Buried in the wall.
Which I guess, in a sense, like, that's a very pirate thing to do, which is also like turn stolen gold into something else and then stow it away. That's why people think of it as a pirate movie.
They killed the lepers because they had that gold. They wanted their gold. Yeah. So they killed their gold, so then they're going to get it back.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense.
So that's why at that point you sort of turn into pirates at that point. Like that's just so that's why everyone considers this a pirate movie. Even though it's not. They're not pirates.
They're ghost lepers.
They're ghost lepers. So like It's funny to like this cross is novelty, big and clunky,
Yeah.
like, and you have Hal Hal Holbrook, priest
Yeah.
Father Malone, like lugging this thing around to
He
fight
does a
the
good job of
pirates.
making it look really heavy, though. Like,
Really
he does
heavy.
not easily
Yeah,
move it. He's, like, sweating and he's, like, barely moving it, which is
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And then he
Um,
gives it back to him, then they kill him anyway,
they kill him anyway. Yeah, so
which is cool.
like they kind of disappear. They give up trying to kill Adrian Barbeau on the top of the
Oh, yeah.
lighthouse.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's funny to see like the movie resolves. Everyone's like, oh well, damn, that's over. All right, we'll see ya. And then it just starts back up with like a scene of them coming back just to kill the priest, and
Yeah.
that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
It's a weird ending. It's like it's a
That's
weird
the
yeah,
That's the only thing that kind of feels like forced for me. I mean, it's
yeah,
fine, but it's the only thing that feels like they went back and were like, "Oh, we need to have like a horror movie ending here."
yeah,
It's not bad at all,
yeah,
but I love it the way the ghost pirates kill them because they just like slam their spikes in them repeatedly.
yeah.
It's like, which is cool. It's pretty brutal. Like when they kill the old lady, they kill her right instead of the
Yes.
little kid. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, why'd they kill that old lady? She didn't do anything. And then I love the dude, not Brian Dennehy, picks up Jamie Lee Curtis, and then they do it.
Yeah.
Just that night.
Yeah, just absolutely no, like,
I,
yeah,
I think
absolutely
I
no
think
anything.
yeah, I think they're getting high too. I think they're just
Yeah,
the
this is
spirit of the '60s, just total hippies.
yeah, except it's 1980.
Exactly, that's what's the spirit of it.
We're pre HIV crisis, so everyone's just having a loose time in the universe. So, um, but
Yeah,
yeah, so this movie, like, uh, what
opened
it's
up in
so
12 theaters.
opened up in 12 theaters. I know. I was just like, what is
Did it?
this? Yeah. Let's
Oh,
see. In
I just made
addition to
that
the
up.
final it had a $1.1 million production budget.
Yeah.
Uh, and the studio Avco Embassy spent $3 million advertising.
Whoa. I think
And
that's on the soundtrack or somewhere on the Blu-ray. The radio ads for
yeah,
it.
and they installed fog machines into the lobbies of theaters.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, to promote the movie.
Oh,
Uh,
promoted. Okay.
yeah.
I thought they were doing like the Honey I Shrunk the Kids thing, and they were
Putting
have
props
the
and
wind blow on you and everything.
yeah, doing yeah, 4D movie, the first one.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. So yeah, an undisclosed amount was spent on 600 prints of the film, 540 which were distributed to American cinemas. So, so it looks like it would have opened in 600 cinemas worldwide.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It was supposed to be a 1979 Christmas movie, but they waited till February of 1980, where there wasn't any competition for them at the box office. And more screens available for them to sell their movie to.
Yeah.
And they staggered the release.
Oh yeah, they did that. They did that in those days.
Yeah.
Like even Star Wars would open up, and then a couple weeks later have a wide release.
Yeah. So the movie cost, I'll say $4 million if you include the advertising budget. It made $21 million in the U.S. and Canada alone.
Jeez,
so
that's good.
that's pretty good.
Yeah. It's a good thing about horror movies; they don't cost much, and they make it back pretty quick.
Yeah, horror fans will always see a horror movie in theaters. They always make. They will like. It's very rare for one not to make their money back. The ones that don't make their money back are the ones that aren't being like marketed towards horror fans, like the mass market bad horror movies, like
ones that aren't sequels.
ones that aren't sequels and ones that aren't like you see it a lot now where there's just a lot of horror movies, but they're sort of designed to sort of follow in like the Annabelle or that sort of that kind of horror where it's like horror fans aren't really particularly interested in that. And spooky kid movies are super popular.
Were the little kid scary?
Where the little kid is scary. They're popular to make, but like the horror audience isn't really going to them, and the casual horror audience are the ones that are going to them. So that's where you need to market it towards. You don't make as much money as if you were making a low budget horror film for a horror audience because they'll come out in troves. But yeah. I guess Carpenter took inspiration from an old British film.
Oh yeah,
The Trollenberg Terror from 19. The Crawling Eye. Oh yeah. Okay.
The Crawling Eye. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. I recognize that movie.
I'll have to look that bad boy up.
Yeah, it's an old 1950s horror thing.
What's it called again? The Rolling Eye.
It's the Crawling Eye.
The Crawling Eye.
Its British name is the Trollenberg Terror.
The Crawling Eye.
Yeah.
The Rolling Eye, just someone being annoyed at somebody and rolling their eyes back.
It was mentioned in the novel of It.
Oh yeah.
And it was a Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie.
Oh.
Yeah, so
that makes sense.
Just lets you know where that movie's at. So.
Yeah, totally.
He was also said he was inspired by a visit to Stonehenge with Deborah Hill.
Oh yeah.
So that makes sense too.
As with Spinal Tap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stone. That's funny. You never know where ideas come from.
When he was promoting Assault on Precinct 13, they visited the site one day and saw an eerie fog in the distance. In DVD audio commentary for the film, Carpenter noted that the story of the deliberate wreckage of the ship and its subsequent plundering was based on an actual event that took place in the 19th century near Goleta, California. And the movie, that scenario was made into a movie in the 70s called The Master Gunfighter. So, that's interesting.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's a great thing about Carpenter. He always does commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool.
The movie bears strong resemblance to the 1965 movie Terror Creatures from the Grave. So,
is that a Roger Corman movie?
Massimo Pupillo.
I have found to stay away from Roger Corman movies. Anyone I've tried, I'm like, God, this is just garbage. I'm like, oh yeah, it's Roger Corman.
I still really like Death Race 2000, but that's.
Oh, was that his?
Yeah.
There was a while. I remember that it was in the 90s, maybe the Frankenstein with De Niro.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was like Roger Corman actually trying or what exactly, or if that just for some reason ended up being like an A-list movie. Right?
Yeah.
Oh no, he's not in that Frankenstein. De Niro's in the Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and then there's another Frankenstein with Kenneth Branagh or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So The Fog, part of a 2-picture deal with Escape from New York.
Oh yeah.
So that's why the movies have like $1 million budgets. Well,
Carpenter knows how to make it work. So
yeah.
Well, I know in this movie, a lot of the lighting was source lighting. But what they did was they just replaced the bulbs to a stronger wattage for film cameras, but they didn't have extra lights a lot of the time. Oh, I think also worth mentioning, I don't know if this is the first movie, but reunites Janet Leigh with Jamie Lee Curtis on screen.
Yeah.
With mother and daughter together.
Yeah,
Which I don't know. I know they did it in Halloween H2O many years later. Yeah. 20 years later, I might add.
Yeah, 20,
I love that it's called Halloween H2O. It's water, and it's Halloween 20 years later, so it's called H2O.
Yeah.
It actually is pretty good, especially considering the Halloween sequels.
Yeah.
But it is funny to have both of them. And then Janet Leigh's assistant is in Halloween.
Yeah.
The brunette girl.
This movie only took a month to film.
Yeah, I can see that. Not in too many locations.
Yeah, April to May, and it was all completely filmed in California. Like the studio was like filmed at the Raleigh Studios, and like all the exterior shots were like Point Reyes, Bolinas, Inverness. And the Episcopal Church of the Ascension in Sierra Madre, all of them California's locations. So not a lot of travel for John Carpenter for this particular movie.
No, well he is the king of low budget movie making.
So many of his movies are just characters. They're just people. Like even like like the creature effects are like The Thing is probably one of his more elaborate creature effects.
Oh, definitely,
yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, Halloween, you got one guy walking around with a mask on.
Yeah, and
which is a William Shatner mask.
Yeah.
Just painted.
Assault on Precinct 13 has nothing other than just people and sets. Escape from New York, same thing, just people and sets.
That one's definitely more epic, but it's like, it's just crap. The epicness of this is the ruin of New York.
Yeah, all they had to do is create New York and then destroy it, basically. So, this one, it's, even the special effects usually involve, like, lighting and
Yeah, fog.
making the fog and fancy costumes for
Yeah.
the ghost sailors.
Yeah.
So, it takes a while for, like, later on in his career he gets a little more elaborate, but for the most
I don't.
part.
It's probably his biggest budget is either The Thing or Escape from L.A.
Yeah, I think
Because Escape from L.A. was a studio one.
was a studio movie and had a lot of, like, digital effects, which wasn't great.
Which were
And
bad.
And a lot of bad digital effects.
They're all so bad.
Yeah.
Not even good for the time or whatever. Usually when they're good for the time, they're still pretty good. They still hold up. But these ones are just terrible. Like, so bad. Like, doing things digitally that they couldn't really pull off at the time or did not have the budget for. It's not good at all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So it looks like 1/3 of this film is new footage after they filmed it.
So yeah, that makes sense.
1/3 of the movies, they said, it's you add the prologue, and they several other scenes were and reshot others to make the film more comprehensible, frightening, and gorier. And Carpenter and Hill said it said the necessity of the reshoot became especially clear when they when they realized they would have to compete with other horror films with high gore content. So
yeah, totally.
So 1/3 of the newer footage, so 1/3 of the movie is new footage, increasing the film's budget by only $0.1 million.
Jeez, yeah. I think it was just everything include with the ghost.
Yeah.
I don't really know, but John Houseman. Time for one more story.
Yeah, I think they reshot. I think the ghosts would have probably already been there. They just reshot everything to add gore to it.
Yeah, just them more killing,
like showing the killing and actually adding blood effects. And
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if the coroner scene was all new.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one when they're talking in the ship when Jamie Lee Curtis is with the dude and like the locker's there, and then I think you see it starting to open. You see the handle that opens and the body like falls out on her.
Yeah.
It's a good one because the build-up's so big for it.
Yeah. Very Jurassic Park in that one.
I think we're back in business. That's probably the biggest jump definitely the biggest jump I'd had at that point in my life. Probably the biggest jump in the theater was the first Lord of the Rings when Elijah Wood has the vest thing and Bilbo wants it and he like reaches for it and his eyes get all huge and black and just screams and it just scares the bejesus out of him because and they use like digital stuff, so it was kind of beyond what you were expecting at that time, which is cool.
I like the casting of this. Cast as the female lead was Adrienne Barbeau, John Carpenter's wife, who appeared in his TV movie "Someone's Watching Me."
Oh, that's right, she's in that, yeah.
And then she's in Escape from New York, so you get like 3 back-to-back stuff.
Yeah,
John Carpenter.
And then they got divorced.
Yeah, Tom Atkins was cast because he was a friend of Adrienne Barbeau's.
Oh yeah, I know. Someone's Watching Me is really good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and Tom Atkins is also in Escape from New York, and he's the lead of Halloween 3. Jamie Lee Curtis, I like that she says, yeah, that's what I love about John. He's letting me explore different aspects of myself. I'm spoiled rotten now. My next director is going to be almost a letdown.
Yeah, it sounds like because obviously the directors I follow are good and respected, but obviously there's a lot of them out there that aren't very good. And it's funny when you hear about directors that just don't really care. They just kind of phone it in, or it's their job. They're just there to, and they don't know how to talk to people or whatever. They're not all Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Which is so funny to think for us, because like a dream would be to make a movie or whatever, and for some guys just a career choice. They just choose it and it's just there, and they they have a cousin or an uncle that makes movies and they just start doing it because they live in the area. Or I like movies. I guess I'll go be a boom guy. And then opportunity comes up where they direct or something, and for some people they're not really artists. They're just kind of there.
Here are the references that are in this movie. You got a character named Dan O'Bannon, who
he wrote Alien,
and
Dark Star,
and him and Carpenter worked on Dark Star. We already mentioned Nick Castle.
Yeah.
He co-wrote Escape from New York with him as well. Tommy
Mm.
Wallace is the name of a character who was
Yeah.
Carpenter's editor and art designer and sound engineer.
Oh
And
yeah.
Richard Corbett, who is the name of another character who was the producer of Someone's Watching Over Me. There's a character
Mm.
named Mrs. Corbett. So
Oh yeah.
John Houseman, Mr. Machin.
Houseman.
Yeah. A radio report mentions Arkham Reef. The
Oh
town's
yeah.
coroner, Dr. Fives, was named after the titular character of horror films starring Vincent Price.
Oh, and the guy that plays that part is in Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah.
He's the main prisoner.
Yep. Mixed reviews upon release.
Of course.
Because that's just how horror was always. Even now, it's not 100% like the most beloved film of John Carpenter's thing. A lot of people, but it's mixed reviews still to this day. But
well, it was funny for me to find out that Carpenter movies didn't do well, or, like in any way upon release, because growing up in the early '90s, every movie that you heard people talk, like older guys talk about, were always They Live and The Thing and The Fog, and so it was always Carpenter movies were like the movies to watch, and they were always R-rated and stuff. And I just always heard those movies as just like common knowledge, and then watch them and they're really good, and then find out that they all did really bad. I was like, what? These are so good. Everybody loves these movies.
This movie was remade in 2005.
With Smallville Superman.
Smallville, Tom Welling, and Selma Blair.
Selma Blair.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's about. I've never actually talked to anybody that's seen it, so I don't know.
It's mostly, it's vaguely the same. A lot of the stuff's still there. They don't. When a horror movie, you have to be as good as the original, and the problem with being as good as the original in this case is that you have to make a small movie, and Hollywood isn't particularly interested in making a small movie.
Oh yeah.
Especially, and so you have a bad cast. Bad sort of like you take this movie and sort of make it bigger and more violent, and and with all of the sort of 2005 tropes behind it, which what was going on in 2000s,
excessive digital stuff.
Yeah, excessive digital nonsense, and
I watched. Now I'm not anti-digital, as we've established with Star Wars, but I watched Along Came a Spider, which was from 2001. There's a part when a car gets hit and like spins out and flies off a bridge, and it's digital, and it looks so bad.
Yeah,
like, guys, if the tests don't look good, you probably shouldn't do it. And it's just a car; you can spin a car off a bridge. Yeah. This isn't Jar Jar Binks we're talking about here. Yeah, it's funny, because people being against digital, I'm like, what's the problem? I don't really get what they're talking about. Then you see like just run-of-the-mill normal movies, and you're like, oh yeah, like this stuff doesn't look very good.
Well, and the problem that you have, especially with like horror movies from this era going forward, especially mass market ones, is because a lot of these movies don't create characters you're interested in. So you have these characters, and they all suck. Like, because they're trying to make characters that you're rooting to get killed.
Oh, yeah. Unlikable characters.
Unlikable characters. But it makes for an unwatchable movie, especially a movie like A Fog, where the characters aren't really designed to be killed. They're not... None of the characters are just none of the characters in Carpenter's The Fog are just like an assembly line towards death.
That's true, yeah.
Which is what a lot of slasher films were. Where it's just like, here's all of these characters that we're introducing to you. One of them's going to survive. It's probably going to be a girl. And
the one that you meet last, who hasn't done anything wrong.
Yeah, and it's usually like nobody's trying to have sex with her, and she's not drinking or anything. It's always that nonsense. And every other character is just like prey. It's just we're just gonna hand them off one by one to whatever's causing the murder in this movie.
Yeah,
and so The Fog is not like that. The original.
That's true. Yeah,
because all of the characters seem to have a fighting chance.
Yeah. There isn't really anybody favored more than the other.
Yeah. Everyone's sort of doing their best, working as a team, hold their own. There's very little infighting amongst the group once they're all together as one and
Yeah,
stuff. And that's usually
that's
how
true.
in horror movies is there's always bickering and there's always like we got to go do our own separate things and all
Oh
that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And
There's the pain in the ass guy. There's the
yeah,
funny guy. There's
yeah,
always that's right. Yeah.
yeah. And this movie doesn't. And you know, then 2005 Fog really tries to make it a horror movie, a traditional horror movie. Cinema Score, which is where they interview people after the movie comes out and they give it a letter grading.
Mm,
And most movies tend to be an A or a B. Like even bad movies tend to be an A or a B.
mm.
This one was a C minus, which is significant's bad.
Yeah.
This is the remake is a C minus.
Hey, I graduated with a C minus average. That's a good score. No, I'm joking. It's a C plus.
Yeah, but yeah, that's. But yeah, so I think at the end of the day, it's got a the 2005 remake has a 4%. I'm not.
That is one when if and when it pops up on any free streaming thing that I have, I will give it a shot. Like
Yeah.
Sold on Precinct 13, I did because it's a simple story you can do, and I'll watch anything with Lawrence Fishburne because I love that guy. And I think I made it like not even 5 minutes in. It was like the time in the 2000s when we're still kind of in it. We're getting away from it pretty good now, but when the gritty documentary style took over, and when you're when you're making a professional movie try to look gritty, you're trying to make it look gritty, and it doesn't look like the French Connection did. Like everything's shaky as hell, like not handheld, it's shaky.
Yeah.
And there's jump cuts like up the ass, and it's just like it's like impossible to watch because it's trying to look gritty.
Yeah.
And this movie was like that. And Ethan Hawke, I mean, he's a good actor, but the director did not tell that guy to restrain himself. He's just overdoing it like crazy.
I don't like the poster to The Fog. I don't think it's that great of a poster.
The one with her pushing against the door?
The door with the ghost hand coming out.
Yeah, that's stupid. That's stupid.
It's not a good poster.
The one on the Blu-ray's cool. It's like a drawn out one with just all their faces, and you got the red-eyed ghost at the bottom. That's cool. But that wasn't the shout.
Yeah. And I got
Scream.
The Scream Factory, and I got the steel book with the hand.
Oh, that's cool.
One. That's a really good.
Yeah, that's really good.
It's got the pirates. The pirates coming towards the lighthouse.
That's a really cool one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you have the poster of that, right? It came with the poster.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, too. I'm glad. Yeah, it's a good poster.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
1980 movies.
The year that music just really went down. I was listening to. I was going through Tom Petty, and who else was I going through? Somebody else, and just listen to music in the 70s. Oh, and Elvis Costello, and it's like their 70s stuff when they came out is great. 80s crap. Second you get out of the 80s, it's great. I don't know what about the 80s killed so many artists. I mean, a lot of good music came out of the 80s, but guys going into the 80s, that did not do well. I don't know what it was.
No.
The cocaine or synthesizers, I don't know what, but something about that decade just was not good for established artists going into that decade.
But it was, for movies, though, it was a pretty big year
for
movies. You got Empire Strikes Back, obviously, which we've talked about at length on this show.
For about 3 hours, right?
For about 3 hours, yeah. Airplane came out this year. Great
movie. Oh, yeah. No, a lot of good movies. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th came out this year, which is...
I watched part 2 a couple days ago.
Friday the 13th, part 2?
I did, yeah. I don't know why it takes place 5 years after, even though it came out the next year.
Yeah.
I don't know why it has to be 5 years later.
How many of the Friday the 13th movies have you watched? Just 2 now?
I've seen them all, but nothing in memory. You know, like I remember liking 3 the most by far.
Well,
and
three's the one where it becomes Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Because like in the third act, he finally gets the hockey mask.
Yeah.
I think then, I can't remember. I think 4 is sort of the peak of it, where it just sort of became what you think of. He's fully loaded and is ready to go. I think 1 through 4 are supposed to be one,
there's the final chapter.
Arc. Yeah, it's a story arc. Like if you watch 1 through 4, that's it. Like you can actually just call it off then, and it tells a full story.
Yeah.
Then obviously they went off and did their own thing.
Yeah, 2 has a lot of time wasting to get to the chase, and the fight scenes are really cheap, and just like she hits him with the chainsaw, like sparks, and the chainsaw stops working for some reason, and just a lot of that stuff.
And his look is like basically stolen from an earlier slasher film, the town that feared sun.
Oh yeah, with the sack on his head.
With the sack on his head, it's straight up stolen from that. I mean, that look.
Oh yeah.
That.
Which is, I didn't like that movie either.
Yeah, so Xanadu came out this year. Flash Gordon, which is a movie I personally love, came out this year.
That movie is the definition of campy.
Yeah.
I mean, intentionally, of course.
Yeah. I do. The Blues Brothers came out. I've always pictured that movie earlier. I mean, you're looking at a year of, like, if you look at horror movies from the 80s, you have The Fog, Prom Night, Cannibal Holocaust, The Shining, Friday the 13th, Maniac, The Elephant Man, City of the Living Dead came out this year.
So it's kind of the slasher thing that's starting to become a thing.
You're 100% into the slasher era of things because there's just so many that came out this year alone.
It started with Halloween, and then
it all started with Halloween, and this is 2 years later, and now you have Friday the 13th opening up with everything.
Because Friday the 13th made it a thing, right? That's like
yes, Friday the 13th is sort of the one that, like, it was the mass market version of sort of like a slasher idea. Like, it became this big thing, and it had a lot of word of mouth. A lot of critics hated it because of what it was, which helped it a lot.
Well, that was, I mean, slasher really is, in terms of industry, is a cheap movie you can make with almost a guaranteed profit.
Yeah.
And that's what they really realized that they could bank on with these movies.
So the Fog opened up in the same day, because remember, they moved it to February so it wouldn't open up so it would have a much more wide open release. So it opened up February 1st. The movie Fatso came out.
I feel like I know that movie.
You would. It stars Dom DeLuise. It's an Anne Bancroft movie. You'd recognize if you saw it, but probably,
I think I've pretty much heard of almost every movie, but I haven't seen them, but I've heard of.
Yeah,
since I do my internet movie database hunting pretty much every day.
The same day as The Fog, you have American Gigolo.
Oh, with what's his face?
Richard
Gere. There you go. I don't know why I always think of that guy as a giant pussy. I have no idea why. Just like, God, that guy's such a wuss.
John Ritter's Hero at Large, The Fog, The Last Married Couple in America, Midnight Madness, and then the next week you have Caligula, Cruising, and Mad Max.
Cruising, that's a movie on my list that I want to see.
That's Al Pacino.
Yep. And William Friedkin, who I don't know if he really made anything good after The Exorcist, but damn it, I'm looking.
You'll find it, damn it.
The Guardian is on my list too. I want to see that.
But Cruising was a couple of years after. Well, like 4 years. Well, let's see. What year did Exorcist come out? 79. Let's look at it. Not
77. Was it 77? 77.
No, Exorcist came out in 73.
That was way off.
So 7 years later, Cruising. So
never mind.
Yeah, maybe
that makes me question every fact that I've just said.
But it's opening up at around the same time as another cult movie that will pop up with Mad Max. So
the first Mad Max that's not Mad Max.
Yeah.
The least Mad Max.
It's the least Mad Max of all the Mad Maxes, including the Fury Road, Fury Road.
Especially, which is the first one I saw. So I went into Mad Max knowing what the fully realized Mad Max idea was. The first one's a pretty straight up, just traditional cop story. Just guy's happy with his family. Guy's family gets killed by a gang. Guy goes after gang.
Yeah.
And murders all of them.
Yeah, the whole idea of the post-apocalyptic world is almost like secondary to the
story
of Mad Max. It's barely a post-apocalyptic. It could just be taking place in some sort of like,
just in Australia.
Just in Australia, just on the edge of the. Yeah.
Just Australia, extremely behind the times.
Yeah.
Remember that Flight of the Conchords episode
yeah.
where they're in the pawn shop and they have the Matrix
Yeah.
bootleg, and he's like, "Oh, we just got this in Australia." It's like 2010. Just the joke that Australia is just extremely behind everything. What you can do the Academy Award.
Yeah, what did win the Academy Award?
It's always funny to go through, and then we can just talk shit about all these other movies.
Yeah. Let's see. Academy Award, Best Film, Ordinary People.
Well, what's that one? Oh, wait a minute.
The Robert Redford movie.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's just a drama. I mean, like it's one of those, like, let's see. I'll read the Wikipedia. The story.
I do love Redford.
Yeah, the story concerns the disintegration of an upper middle class family in Lake Forest, Illinois, following the accidental death of their 2 sons and the attempted suicide of the other.
Well, that sounds like a great movie to watch.
Donald Sutherland, Mary Tyler Moore, Judd Hirsch, and Timothy Hutton.
I know what that is. It's so funny with some movies because the plot just sounds terrible or like depressing, but it all depends on the way they do it. Like sometimes it's like, oh, follows a marriage falling apart in a small town. You're like, why would I want to watch that?
Robert De Niro won for Best Actor that year for Raging Bull.
Oh, because he got fat. Yeah. Anytime someone does an extreme weight loss or gain, and anytime a really good-looking actress decides to go ugly, then they're gonna get the Oscar for it.
Sissy Spacek won for Coal Miner's Daughter.
The
BAFTAs were all over the place that year. The Elephant Man won Best Film. And
I still haven't seen that. That's like one of the couple Lynch movies I haven't seen.
And Akira Kurosawa won for Best Director.
Was that for the one that starts with a K?
Yeah, Kagemusha.
Yeah, the one that Lucas produced.
Yeah. That's so. And John Hurt won for The Elephant Man, and Judy Davis won for My Brilliant Career. Golden Globes was Ordinary People and Coal Miner's Daughter. So.
2 movies that have never really been on my radar.
Coal Miner's Daughter, I've seen a couple of times. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
But, you know.
This is kind of before the effect of Star Wars is taken off.
1980 Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah. I remember watching Men in Black, and I'm like, man, I never thought Tommy Lee Jones would look young. Thought he looked old and haggard in this movie. Yeah. See him now, and you're like, God, he looks so young in 95.
Yeah. I don't know what my opinion of Raging Bull is. I mean, I like it, but I also hate it. Like, I don't. It's one of those things where I kind of don't like watching it sometimes.
Yes, that's how a lot of Scorsese movies are. You're like, this is really good, but I never want to see it ever again. Yeah. It's just so heavy and so much domestic violence, and it's one movie that we've had for a long time, and my wife hasn't seen it, and she's like, "Oh, you want to watch that?" And I'm like, I can't go there. I can't go there. I can't. Maybe at the happiest point in my life, and everything going well. Maybe I can have maybe I can go back to Raging Bull, but I don't know.
Listen back to the Empire Strikes Back episode if you want to know what the top 10 highest grossing movies of the year are.
Oh, we're not gonna go through them again.
Do you want to?
I want to go through. I want to go through them again.
Okay, we know what number 1 is. It's the Empire Strikes
I can
Back.
improve. I can improve on my commentary.
Yeah. Number 1.
Or just say the same exact thing again. Yeah, number 2, what?
Number 1 is Empire Strikes Back. Number 2, 9 to 5. You know that movie. That's
do I?
Yeah, it's the Dolly Parton movie.
I definitely don't know that.
Jane Fonda, like a huge radio hit song came out from that movie.
No, I don't know.
It's actually a really good movie. You should watch it.
Oh, okay.
It's fun. Dolly Parton's a treasure.
Oh, Dolly Parton's great.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to love Dolly Parton.
Stir Crazy came out this year. Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor movie. That was number 3. Number 4 is Airplane.
They were going to re-release that this year. I don't know, though.
Yeah, they were going to put out... I was excited because they're going to put out Airplane and the original King Kong. We're going to be in theaters. They're going to do... Yeah. And, well, that's not happening now, so...
New movies aren't even getting released.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was wondering about that. I was like, I wonder how good these movies are going to be because they have this giant break where they can really develop them.
Yeah.
and put more time into them. Like the new Matrix is really the only thing I had my eye on, and they started shooting it for a few weeks, and now they have time to like go over the script and look at their footage, and I'll bet you it'll make all these way better movies. Like the new Bond movie, they're not going to be forcing that out. They're going to be looking at it and editing it, working on the music and everything.
I just read a news story today where they were talking with the director of the movie, and they said, "No, we're not going to use this time to edit it. It's perfect the way it is."
Yeah. So, who knows?
Yeah.
But I just wonder, and especially things in development, like they'll get to go over the script again, like to bring it back to Carpenter, which is I think where we started. Is he was talking about The Thing, how they had like a really long time for a pre-production, and he said that's why it was so good, is because they really got to prepare that movie before they made it, and they didn't have to rush into it.
Yeah,
because most movies are just rushed like crazy, and they never have enough time for anything. So it sounds like with a lot of these movies that they will actually get time to develop them and make them as good as they can be.
Yeah.
Which I hope.
Or the Hollywood system is just going to fall apart at the seams. It could go either way. It could be better everything could come out better, or just like everything's falling apart.
Yes, I predicted that too. That the theaters will be totally done, and you can just buy it straight away.
The theater that we saw the Fog at, they're a little small art house local theater, and in order to make money, they're doing like virtual screening rooms kind of thing now. So there's like they're like getting some of the kinds of movies that you would expect to see at this theater, and you pay them $12 and they get half of it, and you just watch an independent film of some sort.
They're new or they're old movies?
A mix of everything.
Some
new, some old, some new, some old, a little bit of everything. So
it is.
Yeah.
Sounds weird.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a good way to make money.
Yeah, it was already volunteer theater, so
that's true.
They don't have any volunteers now, so
the volunteers are out of work.
Yeah. Any Which Way You Can, which is the sequel to Every Which Way But Loose, the Clint Eastwood movie where he was the truck driver with the monkey.
The monkey, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so this is the sequel to that movie. So
I still haven't seen that. I was looking at his movies yesterday, and I think like maybe like the last like 9 out of 10 are all based on a true story, because he just kind of got not stuck, but just in this groove of just making true stories.
Yes.
Like even his new one coming out is based on a true story. Just everything he's doing was just something he read in Time magazine. He's like, I'm gonna make that a movie. Just some article that he read.
He saw some like History Channel documentary about Richard Jewell and said, I could do that.
Or was that 1510 to Paris or whatever?
Yeah.
Isn't that supposed to be bad, right? Like, because they use the real guys who can't act.
Yeah.
Alongside real actors.
Yeah. Private Benjamin was number 6 that year. It was a Goldie Hawn war comedy.
Oh yeah, I know that one.
Coal Miner's Daughter, Smokey and the Bandit 2.
The sequel.
Yeah, The Blue Lagoon.
Oh yeah, The Blue Lagoon.
Yeah, rounding out the top 10, The Blues Brothers.
I still haven't seen The Blues Brothers.
I love The Blues Brothers.
For some reason, I just haven't.
I don't watch it very often, but I will get to it from every once in a while. I also have one of their albums, and it's really good. So.
Oh yeah, I don't not like Dan Aykroyd, but I don't love Dan Aykroyd. I don't know why.
Dan Aykroyd is when he's like the best part of his movie when he's like on it, like.
Yeah, I mean, he's a funny dude.
Yeah. Like the Blues Brothers, he's great. Ghostbusters, he's great. A couple of other movies, but then like for every like good movie that Dan Aykroyd's in, you get like 3 or 4 just like absolute shit shows, and just can't deal with it. But
well, he's funny because he's not really funny, but he like sets up everyone else to be funny.
Yeah,
he does that really well.
Like he's really good playing the straight man.
Yeah.
Like his character in the Blues Brothers and in Dragnet are very similar in the sense where it's like he's not really the one doing the jokes. It's just that these really insane things are happening, and he's playing it completely straight and he rarely has the punchline.
So I watched that movie Evolution.
He's got great comedic timing.
Yes, yeah.
He knows when the joke is supposed to happen.
He like sees the big picture, which is cool.
Even if he's not the one delivering the joke, his
Yeah.
timing on what will become the joke is
Yeah.
crucial, and he knows exactly where he needs to be. For the most part. For the
Yeah.
most part.
I watched Evolution, the one with David Duchovny and Dan Aykroyd. It's so funny in that. He's not in a lot, but he is really funny in it.
Yeah.
He's like got a good characterization for a small role.
I guess one of my major problems with like something like the Blues Brothers and stuff is just that you also then remember it's like, oh yeah, John Landis made this movie, that son of a bitch.
It's funny what John Landis did. Obviously, his the thing he did wrong is not equal to what happened because he didn't set up for a guy and a kid to get killed. But I mean, he was a dick and he did some stuff he shouldn't have done, which wasn't that bad. But then the cause of it ended up being unforgivable. So it's kind of funny because I kind of have mixed feelings on it.
Well, I think the biggest problem is that he didn't learn any lessons from it.
Oh, he didn't?
And just sort of maintained being a dick for going forward. Like he's like he was well known just kind of being a bad dude. And and his son ended up being no better. So
no.
There we go.
Well, yeah, I mean those are because he was a bad guy was the reason he broke those child labor laws.
Yeah.
Like Spielberg wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
You know, or you don't really hear that happening. Well, I guess the only reason you hear of it happening was because they died.
Yeah.
But I mean, he seems like a douchebag for sure.
Yeah, and it's sort of well known that he is before Twilight Zone, after Twilight Zone, everyone just sort of like, lots of people are like, I just don't want to work with that guy.
Yeah, it seems like in interviews, whenever they seem like the coolest guy in the world, you're like, nah, I don't think so. Yeah. They just come across as, I don't know. And he seemed like that. I remember watching interviews with him, and you're like, he seems really nice, but I don't think he is.
Yeah. But John Carpenter, though, he seems like
seems like a great guy.
Yeah, you get his favorite thing to do now. He wants to watch basketball and play video games. Those are the only
make music.
Things, and make music. Those are the only three things he wants to do. And you know what? I feel you, man.
Oh yeah. No, I'm always mad that he doesn't make movies anymore, but I get it. Because it's such a pain in the ass to make them, especially when you're John Carpenter, who never really had a hit.
Yeah,
he doesn't have that much clout to walk in there and say, "All right, give me $20 million, I'm going to make," or even more than that, and make a movie.
And then just critically to watch your projects just get torn apart, especially in recent years, where it sort of made him start questioning himself.
Oh yeah. So his last movie that he did, The Ward, was really good. I mean, it's not the best movie in the world, but it was good.
Yeah,
I like, and that was the first one he had done in a while, and it was like, I don't know, like 2000s, and I think the last thing he did before that was the late 90s with Ghost of Mars.
Yeah,
and then did this, and then hasn't done anything since then.
Yeah.
But he's doing music, and the music's great.
Yeah, he did the music for the most recent Halloween, which is really good.
Oh, even just standalone, just straight up albums.
Stuff. Yeah, and he's going to be doing the music for the next Halloweens. So.
Oh yeah.
So we got more of that to come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the overall scheme of John Carpenter movies, where do you put The Fog? Like in terms
I really like The Fog.
Really, you put it high up on your list of movies?
I think for me with Carpenter, because I was thinking about James Bond movies, and there's like an A-list and a B-list, you know, like the really good ones and the ones that aren't quite as good, but they're still good. And with Carpenter, I think the only ones that I've watched that I would put on his B-list are Starman, which I've only seen once. It was really good. It's just really slow. And Village of the Damned, or Children, I can never remember. And those are the only two that I've watched where I'm like, these aren't quite as good, but they're still good. But everything else is like in the A-list for me.
With the exception, I would say the only thing that he's done that is just outright bad is Escape from LA.
Yes, that's the only one that's actually not good.
Good. Like, even the ones that, you may like and I don't like as much, or some of his later career movies or whatever, like Ghost of Mars and stuff.
Yeah, I really like that. I was surprised.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't, and I'm not a hugest fan of Ghost of Mars and whatever that other...
Vampires?
Vampires, yeah.
I love vampires.
But even with those, it's like I still think they're incredibly watchable movies, and they can be enjoyed. Especially if you just are people like us that not only do we enjoy movies, but we sort of like we like watching somebody who knows what their craft is.
Yes.
And is good at it, even if the movie itself isn't as memorable as Halloween or The Thing or something, like even like his later stuff. John Carpenter knows what he's setting out to make, and he's an expert at his own personal craft.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Even if the movie doesn't come together 100% like some of his earlier films, it's still like it's enjoyable to watch a director excelling at his craft. So
yeah, and he's the kind of filmmaking I love, where it's slow and wide. Like everything's very widescreen. It's nice and slow, not too fast, and he's always has a good, strong visual style, which I love.
Aesthetically, he's never really done me wrong aesthetically for his movies.
Well, and he always kind of goes outside the box, even if it doesn't seem like it. Like even Ghost of Mars kind of tells a pretty normal story, but in a different way, which is really cool. Yeah. It's like it's all like in flashback, which is very cool, and it's cool. The approach I wasn't expecting, and it was cool because you're like, oh, this is kind of a different way to tell a story, which I thought was nice and genuine. And Vampires kind of goes a different route than you expected, which I like. And and he's always original, and he's not just going by the numbers because it's comfortable.
Yeah, he goes out of his way to make something that's not going to be out there already. So
yeah, I feel like because like Tarantino makes Tarantino movies. Like you watch that movie for 30 seconds and you know who wrote this movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like Carpenter does that.
Yeah.
Which is always the best guys.
Yeah. This won't be the last John Carpenter movie. I have to call him Jim Carpenter, and I don't know why.
You're thinking of James Cameron.
James Cameron. Yeah, exactly.
Who did the special effects on Escape from New York?
He did.
He was the main guy, but he was on the team.
Yeah. So this won't be the last Carpenter movie we talk about. That's for sure.
No.
For who knows what the next one will be? I'm sure we'll just we'll agree on something at some point. But
we'll happen to watch it.
Yeah. That's that. I think that's a good, fun talk about The Fog and sort of get the sort of Carpenter talk out of the way.
Yeah.
I think this is a good example of what we were just talking about with John Carpenter, where he's telling a story in a very John Carpenter way, and he's got his very John Carpenter aesthetic, and it came together, even though for him at first it wasn't. He made it come together to be his style of movie, and it did.
That happens a lot. I mean, some movies, they're like, oh, we didn't realize this, and then we went back and shot it, and you're like, what? You made this movie not knowing this scene was going to be in there? But, I mean, that's how movies go.
Yeah.
So, doesn't make it any less.
Yeah. Who knows what the next movie we talk about will be. The quarantine has pretty much given us free reign of watching whatever we want at any given time. So it's just movies. Watching movies at home is kind of all you can do these days. So
I've been unemployed for the last 6 months, so this quarantining is nothing new for me. I got a head start on it.
Yeah, there you go.
I always practice social distancing. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I'm essential, so I still have to work my 4 days a week, but I don't have anything to waste my time with when I'm not at work outside of work. So now it's just a matter of, well, it's just what can we watch now? Let's watch. I'm gonna watch. Pull something off the shelf, and okay, well, I guess this is what I'm watching now. So yeah.
I think last Friday, I finally watched the last movie, but it took me. I started 5 movies and only watched one because the first 4 were so bad. And I finally watched Evolution, which I didn't think would be that good, but it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to watch a genuinely bad movie and talk about it on here, like one that we can agree on is a bad movie. So.
I've started plenty of those.
Yeah.
Hey, I watched Mortal Kombat yesterday. That's fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
And that was a genuine bad movie. Doesn't get much more genuinely bad than that.
Yeah, there you go.
I was surprised though with the forearm guy, the big puppet thing. Goro? He looked good. Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah.
He looked pretty good.
When was that?
95. Yeah.
Jeez, not that far removed from Mortal Kombat being, because I think Mortal Kombat came out in like 93 or something. So it didn't really take too long for.
I was wondering how they did him. I was surprised. He looked pretty darn good.
Yeah, all things considered, like some of the effects, like Scorpion's hook coming out of his hand looked very bad.
Yes.
But the puppet for Goro is actually really good.
Yeah, it was a puppet, and I think they put most of their money into him.
Yeah,
it looked pretty good.
A lot of the budget was that.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah. So, yeah, we probably won't be talking about Mortal Kombat next. We're just talking.
I don't think we just did. That's it. That's all I can say about it.
That's all you can talk about with Mortal Kombat.
That's all I want to say about it.
Yeah, the Mortal Kombat would be more about the history of the video game than anything, and that's not what the show is. So, yeah. But thanks again. There is no sign off for this. I can't think of a catchphrase for the fog that we could.
I can think of some quotes from the movie, but they're not exact.
Yeah. But no, you know what? Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back again very, very, very soon, especially now that none of us have anything better to do. And yeah, we'll be back with more movie talk. Thank you all again.
Yep.
Goodbye.